right. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another Investment Dominator stream. Today we're doing our Monday call, and sorry for the brief delay. We did have a little bit of technical issues here. So let's go ahead and get started. If you're joining for the first time, our Monday call is primarily going to be around the setup of the Investment Dominator and how you can go ahead and get up and running. And we like to talk about our big three, which we're going to go ahead and actually process today. My name is Dominic. I go ahead and do these IT support calls. We do this every week on Monday and Thursday. And you'll see here just really a place for you to go ahead and make sure that you connected with your audio. So go ahead and make sure you join with your computer audio, as well as if you have any questions during the stream, you'll notice in your taskbar for your Ring Central, you have a place where you can really hit that Q&A option, as well as the chat feature too. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump straight into the LPG deal flow. Now, really regarding the LPG deal flow, we do want to keep in mind of a couple things. First is really the goals of what you're trying to do and accomplish. So at first, we go ahead and start with the target market, and this is where you will go ahead and begin your journey. And then next, you'll get a contact list of landowners, which will be filtered so that you can go ahead and mail those letters out and be able to go ahead and talk to sellers once you get a response back. Now, after that point, you'll then be directed to go ahead and do some further preliminary research, as well as mail your offers and option agreements out. Now, keep in mind, right after you're done with that, you'll then be able to go ahead and do some open escrow, some detailed research, as well as being able to then market the property with or without owner financing. Now, one thing you do want to keep in mind is the end goal that everybody tries to achieve is being able to go ahead and sell that property and get paid. With that being said, you will notice that what you're going ahead and doing on the left-hand side is importing all of this information directly into the Investment Dominator. So for instance, you'll take your company information as well as county data, your offer requests, whether that be by phone or by website, and as well as your property details. You'll then see a place for tasks as well as prospects, leads, and buyers. Last but not least, we do have some more transaction information as well as lead tracking information too. And again, all of this is taken into the Investment Dominator so that you'll go ahead and be able to output these letters, offers, websites, calculators and tools, analytics, as well as when you eventually get there, team management too. So there's a ton of features that are involved with the Investment Dominator, and we're going to go ahead and break down the main ones to really get you up and started with the Investment Dominator today. So you'll see go ahead see a link right at the end of the stream, and that link is going to direct you to an Investment Dominator survey. And really, we just want to be able to reach out and understand the feedback and where it's coming from, as well as seeing if there's any improvements that we can make to the Investment Dominator. It'll ask you for your name as well as your account email address, and then it'll go ahead and ask really, if you've ever used the system before and things of that sort. So if you do have some time, please go ahead and fill that out. We do look at all the feedback. So now with that being said, you will be opened up to the Investment Dominator, and I should have had the tour open up here, but right when you start the Investment Dominator, you're going to see that the Welcome Tour option, it will be presented, and it will walk you through all the main steps of the Investment Dominator. So up here, you can see the color-coded sections like land, houses, marketing, as well as notes. All of this is going to be followed through in that welcome tour. So make sure you go ahead and do that at least once when you first start out with the Investment Dominator. But remember when we talked about the big three, we're going to be talking about that primarily during this demonstration on our Monday call. And the big three consists of editing really your profile section, as well as your company information section, and last but not least, your domain section. So we're going to go ahead and walk through all of this today. I'm going to go ahead and open these up. Again, sorry for the technical issues that we did have in the beginning, but we should be all good now. Should be a chat option. All right. So let's go ahead and see. So first we'll start off with the profile section. Let's go ahead and break this down. And also I'll leave this up for anybody who joins along the stream. This will be number one, how you join with your audio, as well as submit any questions if you have during the stream. So with that being said, let's talk more about our profile section. Now, our profile section will be the first thing that we need to go ahead and complete for the Investment Dominator. And this is really going to be helpful for connecting with IT support or any customer service related issues on your account. For example, the fields that you'll see here won't be used for marketing purposes, so you can really link a good personal email that you want to be reached at regarding any support tickets or really any customer service items like we mentioned. But go ahead and enter your first name as well as your last name and a good email where you could be reached at. Following that, go ahead and also write in your phone number as well as the appropriate time zone that you're in. If we do try to communicate you for any type of troubleshooting needs, it will just help us for our reference when we try to contact you regarding your time zone. So with that being said, we do have signature image here. And one thing that I do want to highlight, really just involved with the Investment Dominator, is you're going to see these brackets followed by a question mark in the middle. And you're going to actually notice that throughout the Investment Dominator, especially when you are generating your documents, you're going to see these helpful tips laid out. And you'll see this one here informs us more about the files that are signature here that we can upload, what type of formats they should be in. So you'll see JPEG, JPG, PNG, those available formats. But going more into the signature image, which you'll see here, we do have two options for you to go ahead and test this out on your account. The first option is to actually go ahead and generate a signature directly from the Investment Dominator. And if you click on this, what you're going to see is you're prompted with this window right here, and it's just called Generate Signature. It's going to ask you for a couple things. It's going to ask you for your name, as well as just a good font for you and a color if you want to change that. So I'll go ahead and enter my name here. All right. And now I want to go ahead and choose a font. And you just want to keep in mind that we only have these available fonts for the signature, as you'll see here. So I'll kind of scroll through them just so that you can see all the different options as well as how you can choose them. So let's stick with something simple. Let's try a dancing script, something like that. Now, again, when we mention the color, just know that when you click onto this color here, it's going to really pop up with this color wheel, and you can change this. You see there's various different ways in which you could change this. What you just want to keep in mind is find the best format for you. I really like being able to just choose the color straight from the color wheel, but if you get the red, green, or blue values, you could also enter those as well. For example, if we're going to go ahead and stick with this color, one thing we do want to keep in mind is actually that if you choose a different color other than the default, black, then you're actually going to notice that there's a premium. And really, this is going to be added to your mailing per mail. And, you know, if this is on any other documents with your signature. So just keep that in mind. But let's say, you know, we really decide that this is going to pop out and make our business really stand out more. We can go ahead and actually choose it. And whenever we're making a big update to the Investment Dominator, you do want to keep in mind that you want to go ahead and update your site, as you'll see here. Now, clicking on Update Your Site will clear our previous signature that we worked with. So, you know, now this signature will take place. So with that being said, there is another option for you to go ahead and actually upload a signature. Now, what I can say is that if we go to upload a signature, you're going to have to go onto your computer and really make sure that you save your signature in an appropriate place. And so you'll be able to pull it up now. And what you're going to see is this cropping window. So this is different than the generate signature. And what we're going to do is left click and hold down, and we're going to stretch this across the entire signature. Now, one thing that I will say is that if you go ahead and you actually bring this cropping tool, and you bring it closer to your image, you're going to notice that your signature comes out large. Now, if you don't want this to happen, actually take this cropping and extend it outwards. So this is called really white space, and you want to have as much white space as you can within, the logo dimensions. But really, once you're done with that, then we'll go ahead and see it, and you might want to test around and play with it to see exactly how it will end up. But let's say we like this size here, and we want to go ahead and update our site. So let's go ahead and update it, and we'll see that this new signature now does take place. So always remember that feature, and we'll dive into why that's important in just a bit as well. Next, besides that, within the profile section, you have a password as well as that enable tour option. If you already went through the tour, go ahead and actually just select no and then update your site. I won't mention it too much, but since we're on our beginner Monday call, but down here is the API keys for your account. So, if you did ever want to go into the world of automation and be able to kind of integrate apps, you would be interested in that area. So now let's go ahead and do the second item of the big three. We're going to go ahead and talk about our company information. All right. Now, really with this, what we're going to want to go ahead and keep in mind is there are going to be a lot of notes, I would say, and key points that we want to bring up during this part, especially when you're working with your company information. And it's really needed for your investment dominator. This is all going to be printed out on your letters, so you want to make sure that you have everything set in stone. And we're going to give you some tips along the way to help you. So you just want to keep in mind for right now that we are going to be discussing our phone system as well. And our phone system consists of the company phone, as well as the offer phone and the selling site phone. These specific fields we're actually going to wait until the end to be able to discuss the end of the company information. So we'll get to that in just a bit. Let's start first with the company fax. Now, company fax number, you don't really see too often companies using fax machines, but let's say if you are working remote and you do have a fax machine which you want to operate for your business. Now, you can leave that number right there appropriately, and yeah, if not, you can go ahead and leave that blank. But next we do have company email. And again, remember these little these brackets and then the question mark. There are these helpful tips that are really laid out all throughout the Investment Dominator. Now the company email is going to be reached and contacted for you regarding your business. So you want to make an email specifically for your company. You don't want to have anything like your personal information within your company information. So just keep that in mind, and we'll explain the importance of that in just a bit. But go ahead and either create a new company email, or if you've already had one for your company, then you can go ahead and use that as well. Now you'll see company name. So company name is an important field. And one thing you do want to keep in mind is there are certain students that are in different positions with their business. So for example, if you've already really started your business and you went and got your actual LLC name, what you're going to do is actually put your company name there, followed by the LLC. But let's say if you are still in the process and you're really just started with the Investment Dominator, you do have another option that you can go ahead and do until you actually get your company name. And just in regards to the company name, depending on where you are and what jurisdiction you're in, you're going to have to wait until you get the final confirmation for your company name. And this is when it's all approved and you're good to go. But if it's not at that point, you're going to want to go ahead and do DBA, which stands for doing business as, and then you're going to follow that with your full name. So this is going to be the best approach if you haven't actually gotten your LLC yet, but still, this is a temporary method, so you should be in the process of getting that LLC. Now, next, when we talk more about company address, now company address, there's a couple of important things that I would like to mention here. And the first one being is that, even if you are working remote, which some of our students are, and you want to use that address as your company address, you do want to keep in mind that you don't want to have any personal information there. Now, that does pose a risk for security and privacy, so you don't want to have anybody that you're sending mailings to have direct affiliation with your home address. So what we definitely recommend is that you go ahead to the UPS store and you get a mailbox there. Now, once you do that, you'll actually just put the address of the UPS store to where you get the mailbox, and you'll go ahead and satisfy this requirement. Now, one thing you also want to keep in mind regarding that is you don't want to have anything that you would see as any additional numbers that would be following a PO box. You don't want to have this on your mailings, and really you do want to keep in mind that this is going to be your first impression that you're sending to these prospects, and you don't want somebody to think that your mail is spam. So definitely remove those extra items from your actual company address, which would be the UPS store, and you should be good to go. Now, with that being said, also go ahead and write down the appropriate city as well as state, followed by the company zip code. And, I said I won't go too much into the phone system right now. The only thing that I will bring up is regarding the company phone and the offer phone. And you'll just see that these numbers are exactly the same. And that wasn't done by accident. That was done on purpose. And this is because we're using an extension to go ahead and deal with both of these numbers. And we're going to talk about that more on our two-line setup for Ring Central. So next we have a spot for offer email, as well as a spot for selling site email. So these two emails are going to be separate functions within the Investment Dominator. And if you so choose, you can actually create, along with your new company email, two more emails, one directed for your offers and one directed for your selling site. But as you can see here, I left both of these fields blank. And when you do this, all of your mail regarding your company will go ahead and delegate just to your company email. So, if you do like that option, you can go ahead and leave that as such. But if not, and you feel comfortable with having additional emails, you can also write down another offer email as well as another selling site email. And one thing I will mention off the selling site phone right here is just that it's completely different from these other numbers. And we'll get into that in just a little bit. So company time zone, you'll see, go ahead and list the appropriate time zone that your company is in, as well as any company notes. Now, company notes is really a section where you want to go ahead and communicate to your potential prospects, really anything about your company that you would want to say. For instance, you could say your hours of operation, or for instance, you could say, let's say like 9 to 5, anything like that. You could even talk about your extensions for your phone system. So extension 1, company phone, and we have extension 2, offer phone. Anything that you would want to communicate to your buyers, to your prospects, you would want to go ahead and list out there regarding your company. Now, also we have another spot where you see a real estate agent, broker, and disclosure. So if you are a real estate agent or a broker, you're going to need to disclose that information. So let's say if you are, you would go ahead and hit yes, and right down at the bottom, you'll see this agent disclosure pop up. And this is basically going to go ahead and auto-populate, but depending on where you are and depending on, what your rules are for being an agent in that specific county, you would either have to add more to the statement or take away. But, if you are that real estate agent or broker, you would know exactly what to do there. Now go ahead and say no, and then we're looking at tax ID type. So tax ID type, there are 3 forms: SSN, TIN, and EIN. What I will say is that you don't need to add the tax ID number for the Investment Dominator to work. Now, this is going to be used primarily for those users who are printing active loan documents from the Investment Dominator, and they want to go ahead and send that directly to the IRS. Now, in order to send those documents, you need to have this tax ID number, which is why it's here. But if this does not apply to you at all, you actually don't have to worry about this field. You can just leave that blank. But all right, let's go ahead and now dive more into the phone system. And I have a little diagram here that I would like to show you all. And what you're going to see here is our recommended phone setup. Now, this is going to be the recommended phone setup for 2 lines. And this is what we talked about earlier that does show the inclusion of the numbers with an extension like such. So for an example, our 2-line setup, and primarily we're talking about Ring Central here, and we do have an affiliate link, lpgphone.com. I'll try that right now, lpgphone.com. For those new users, let's see. So this will go ahead and bring you directly to our affiliate link with Ring Central, and you can go ahead and inform them that you're coming from the Investment Dominator, and really that'll help along the process when you're beginning to explain this, because a lot of our students do this. So our 2-line setup, again, is from Ring Central, and basically we're going to Ring Central and we're getting these 2 local numbers, and that's why we're calling it our 2-line setup. Now, the only difference really with this is that we have 1 line here with 2 separate extensions. So this is going to cut down cost, and this is our 2-line setup. So again, you'll get the 2 lines as well as have that 1 line with 2 extensions. Now, to explain this further, there's a couple things we need to mention. So the first one is that number 1, we have this additional service that we recommend called Pat Live. That affiliate link there is landcalls.com. Try that one too. Go ahead and see if that comes up fast enough. Right, and it does right here, and you'll see affiliate partner right there. So what you want to keep in mind is that Pat Live is a 24-hour call center, and they'll go ahead and process those new offer requests when you get those calls in. And the way they'll be directed is basically by calling your local number 1 and then pressing that extension 1. Now, this is why the company phone, when we're talking about this here, is the same exact number as the offer phone. And this is just simply because they're split off. So when somebody calls your local number 1 and they're pressing extension 1, instead they'll be directed to that Pat Live representative. Now, we do have a setup guide on exactly how you can set up that Pat Live membership and have that representative pick up the phone, but they will be available 24 hours to be able to go ahead and take in any new offer requests that you get. Now, with that being said, if a user were to go ahead and call your local number 1, but this time they want to speak regarding your offer, questions about your offer, they would actually press extension 2. And just showing you here, this will be our offer phone. So now really our offer phone is something that we can't delegate to someone else because we're going to have the details about our offer. So because of this, it's going to be directed to a number that can be best reached for you. And just keep in mind, these recommendations that we're making, we're making them because we've proven and tested really the service that we're doing, and we've really kind of known what works. But do keep in mind that there are alternatives to what you're using. So for example, there is alternatives to Pat Live as well as Ring Central, but we definitely recommend these services. Now, with that being said, you do want to keep in mind that we have another number here, our local number 2. Now this is what makes it our 2-line setup, and this local number 2 will actually be directed directly for questions about our land for sale. Now again, this is something that we wouldn't want to delegate to Pat Live because this is going to have to deal with, making an offer, making that deal. And when somebody calls that phone, our selling side phone, we do have a separate number altogether, and the reason is we like to call this the money phone. And once that phone rings, you want to be best available to go ahead and pick that up because on the other end, you have somebody that's willing to buy your property that you have for sale on your selling site. So just keep that in mind, and this will cover our 2-line setup. Now, with that being said, we do have our alternative option right here, our 3-line setup. Now, just showing you the difference between the 2-line setup and the 3-line setup is primarily not having that extension. So for example, for the 3-line setup, you'll go ahead and see here, our local number 1 will be completely dedicated to that Pat Live service here, which will go ahead and process those new offer requests. Now on top of that, we have our local number 2. So instead of having the extensions, each number that we're getting from Ring Central is dedicated to its own service. Now the local number 2 will go ahead and again direct, well not again, but it will go ahead and direct to questions about your offer. So you're going to need to be best available to pick that up. And the local number 3 here is again questions about your land for sale. So keep that in mind, and that'll go ahead and break down our phone system here. And if you do have any questions about that along the way, we can go ahead and show you some additional resources. Number 1, especially how to get that Ring Central service set up, but as well as the Pat Live call center too. But all right, so that'll go ahead and cover our second item of the big 3. And now we're going to go ahead and dive into our last item of the big 3, which has to deal primarily with our domains. So when we're dealing with our domains, one thing you want to keep in mind is that we'll go over here to the help section of the Investment Dominator, and we're going to go to dashboard. Well, actually, we're going to go to user guide. So once we click onto user guide, you're going to first type in the keyword domain, and you're going to hit search. So think of this as like the Google for the Investment Dominator, and you really want to go ahead and search by keywords. So for example, buying, selling, land, anything of that sort when you're searching through the Investment Dominator user guide. You can see when we typed in the keyword domain up there, we will get this article called How to Configure Your Website's Domain with GoDaddy. Now, if we click on this, we're going to be opened up with a guide that really walks through a lot of technical information, but we're going to go ahead and break this down step by step. So number 1, why even get custom domains? And really the reason is you'll notice that everybody who uses the Investment Dominator will have these default really Investment Dominator domains, and you don't want to go ahead and send this to somebody on a letter. You actually want to have something custom that really personifies and identifies your business. So there are a couple different options that you'll see here, especially when you're reading the article, but we primarily use GoDaddy because we've seen that it's really the fastest to set up and the easiest. And to really prove that, we've created this guide, and it'll walk you through step by step on number 1, like how, well, exactly what you'll need to go ahead and do and think about in the process. And we'll walk you through that step by step, like we mentioned. But really, you want to keep in mind that no matter if you are using GoDaddy or another domain provider, such as Namecheap or REI Blackbook, your main goal is to go ahead and point your CNAME record to the Investment Dominator. So this will involve your DNS records, really, when we're talking about that. So go ahead and make sure that you get your 2 domains, because you need 2 domains. You need one for your buying site and one for your selling site. And you'll see here that if you go to GoDaddy.com, and just keep in mind that this login page will be a little bit different because they do update this frequently. But you're going to go ahead and get 2 domains. Now, regarding domain names, if anybody has a question about that, for your buying site, you can have something a little bit more generic towards your business. For example, you can have something like joebuysdirt.com. But something like your selling site, you want to keep in mind that you're going to get a lot of attention onto your selling site, and people are going to be there and viewing your properties, and just they might be updating that a lot more frequently. So you want to have something like my name, something that pops and just kind of has a ring to it, but also identifies your business. So mine is lotsofcashoffers.com, and that's the example that we're going to be working with today. So we'll go ahead and head to the domain section of the Investment Dominator, and we're just going to want to keep in mind of a couple things. Let's see, all domains. All right, let's see, lotsofcashoffers.com. All right, so following back to this guide that we have here, you're going to want to go ahead to your products, and you're going to want to go ahead and find your domain. Once you find your domain there, you're going to want to go ahead and actually hit manage onto that domain, which will then bring you to your domain settings. And you'll notice that you're in your domain settings because you'll see it like such, like this, as well as your domain popping up there too. So also keep in mind that these sessions will be recorded, so you can go back and review this afterwards too. So next, once you find your domain settings, you're going to want to go ahead to manage zones under DNS. So we can find that here. We go to DNS and we go to this manage zones right there. And now it's going to ask us for our domain name. So we'll go ahead and process that. Sorry, I keep losing my tabs here. We'll scroll down and really it's going to ask you for your first letter of your domain. And you can see even just by typing in the first letter, it'll go ahead and pop up. So I'll just type in L for lots of cash offers and we'll see it pop up right here. Now, once we click on that, we will be brought into our DNS management section, which we'll see here. And this is going to directly bring us to the CNAME record, what we were talking about at the very beginning. So let's go ahead and check this out. So if we scroll down here, you're going to see CNAME followed by www. Now the value will be investmentdominator.com, and you want to go ahead and change this so that it looks appropriate like this. So for example, normally you would have an @ symbol here, and this would be set to another value. You're going to want to have the same settings as mine and make sure that you are in the correct CNAME with the host as www. And your points to section, you're going to want to leave as investmentdominator.com, but don't need to put the www here, just put it over there. And for TTL, as you'll see here, TTL stands for time to load. Now, really for this section, we're going to go ahead and click on it and click on the value for custom. We're going to set our time to load as custom and for 600 seconds. This is going to refresh our site very frequently, so we'll be in good hands, especially when we're working with our selling site. Now, once you're done, you'll just confirm those changes and you'll see that I hit cancel. Go ahead and make sure you submit these changes and just keep in mind that it may take up to 24 hours for these changes to reflect. Now, along with that being said, there is an additional part that we need to go ahead and do. Just keep in mind that this is also in our user guide article, step by step. The last thing that we need to do is actually set our forwarding for our domain. Now, when we're here in the records section, we're actually going to just scroll down over here and we're going to see this forwarding section, and it's going to say domain, and then instead of showing it, you're actually going to see it looks something like this. It's going to say not set up. So you're going to want to click onto the add button for the domain. I'm going to click on the pencil icon to show you my settings. So again, this is broken down right here, but basically you're going to select your forward to, and you're going to make sure that you get just the HTTP, and you want to keep in mind that you don't need to buy any security for these domains, since we're going to be giving you that for free for using the Investment Dominator. And what you'll see next is really a spot for you to enter in your whole domain, as well as select your forward type, which is permanent, and your settings as forward only. And I'll do that right now. So we're going to come back here. So for example, our forward to, make sure you select the HTTP. And when we're writing our domain here, we're actually going to type in the full domain. So www.lotsofcashoffers.com. Then just remember forward type, permanent, as well as settings, forward only. Now, if you do choose any other settings than what we're recommending, you may notice that there is basically your website won't link. So you just want to make sure that you have the appropriate settings here. And once you're done, hit save. Since I already have this done, I'll hit cancel. But that'll go ahead and really be that process that you need to go ahead and do. Now, the last step that you need to do to finalize this is to actually go into your Investment Dominator and complete that domain section. So since I'm working with my selling site, I'm going to be working with that one, my selling site domain. And I'll scroll up here. I'm going to go ahead and copy the name of my domain, lotsofcashoffers.com. And we're going to come back here to the Investment Dominator. We're going to go to Customize, and we'll see the drop down where I'm going to go ahead and click onto Selling Site. Now, one thing for you to keep in mind, the buying site and the selling site for this part is going to be pretty much the same process. You're basically going to go ahead and make sure you're in your selling site domain or your buying site domain, and you're going to change it. Now, this is why we copied over that name. We're going to Control V to go ahead and paste it. And we'll just get a notification one more time, or a confirmation more, that we've went ahead and pointed our CNAME record to the Investment Dominator, which allows it to link our services. So we'll go ahead and click Next, and it'll ask us one more time for verification, and we'll say Confirm. And once that is done, that's basically going to give you that spinning wheel icon. And once it's completed, you'll notice that you do have an option to go ahead and generate your security for your sites, which is again that free security that we were mentioning. Now, if you come over here, and we're in our tab for the user guide. If not, you can go to Help and go to User Guide, but we're going to search for another article here with our user guide. We're going to type in SSL. Now, SSL, as you'll see, this article pops up here with this blue logo. It says, generate and install your SSL certificate for your custom domains. Now, clicking on this article, it's going to bring up, number one, why you want to go ahead and get that security. And just to basically summarize it, you want to ensure that when users are entering your website, that it's secured, because not only does it get ranked higher for Google, but also this will ensure that when people are entering their information, they can be safe and they don't have to worry about their information being stolen. So that's really the top reason why we go ahead and get this done. And you're going to see here our final confirmation, the domain was changed. Please use your new domain to access again. So because I've already done this process, it's just going to say OK. But for a first-time user, it's actually going to say click here to secure your domain, as you'll see right here. So you're going to want to go ahead and do that. And by opening that up, that'll open up another window here, which says secure your domain. And it has a blue button where you can generate your SSL. Go ahead and click on that, and you'll notice the same loading icon as before. And once this is done, then you will have finished your security for your sites. So then that will go ahead and complete the process. And always make sure that you scroll down once you're done and just update that site. All right, now that will go ahead and cover all the items of the big three, and really just walking through all the parts to get the Investment Dominator up and set up. So we're going to leave the remaining time that we have on this call for any questions that we may have. Let's see, open this up to the side. And I would actually like to start, just because we finished the big three, I always like to recommend new users on what to do next. So again, make sure you have all of your company information filled out, and make sure that you go ahead and go to your profile section and make sure you get that filled out. Now, we did get a question regarding the domains. It looks like it's a question from Nicole. And Nicole's saying, I didn't get the secure your domain button. Is there another way to do it? That's a great question, Nicole. Actually, there is another way to do it. So if you come back, let's say if you've already clicked OK, you can actually just go to Customize, and depending on which site you're working with, your buying or your selling site, you can come right back to those settings, let's say back to our selling site. And instead of seeing these options, so this is what it should look like when you're done. But if you're still in the process of generating that SSL, it will actually say a blue button, I believe, should pop up here that says generate your SSL. And you'll click through that and go through the process to finalize and secure your domain. But let me know if that does help you. And regarding just what I was mentioning before, if we go over to the help section and we go over to user guide, there is an article here. If we type in keywords primarily just to find these articles. Let's type in a quick start. So that's one way to do it. And we have this article here too. So this article is the one that we're going to be discussing, Quick Start 1. Now, there is another way to get to this. So if you are in your Investment Dominator, if you're in Help, you can go Dashboard, and you could actually just click this blue button, View Quick Start Guide, and that'll open up the same article. So just keep that in mind. And then what you're going to want to do is actually scroll down all the way to the bottom. And we're going to come to this congratulations screen. And directly below that screen, you're going to see some additional resources here to really help and plan out your next steps with the Investment Dominator. And it looks like that did work for Nicole. So glad that worked out. So let's see here. So really your first step after you're done with this call is to go ahead and actually start importing data into your Investment Dominator. This again goes into the default deal flow process that we talk about. But since this will be your first goal, you have a couple of different options. So number one, if you're working with the land section or if you're working with the house section, there's two separate articles on how you can import your list, your CSV list, as well as additional ways for you to import into your Investment Dominator using an optional service called Data Tree to actually import records directly into your Investment Dominator. We have more about that in this article here. And next, your next goal is to go ahead, once you import the data into your system, to then send out that data. So send out your first mailing. That'll be your next goal. And to do this, there is some more information which needs to be brought up. So for example, how to generate your letters for land investing, but also how to set up a direct mail campaign with the printing service. So we do have, for example, if you're using houses, if you're using the housing part of the Investment Dominator, you can also use that there too, as well as our virtual mail house that we have here with REI Print Mail to send your mailings directly from the Investment Dominator. So once you really start to get this process down, I definitely recommend that you then start using custom documents, and we do list some featured articles here. But really begin with the default deal flow process, and try that out first, and then you can customize afterwards. Now, after sending out your first mailing, let's say that you get some responses back. Those responses are going to ask for those offers. So to be able to figure that out and really understand the process with the Investment Dominator, you want to come to these articles here. So for example, you'll see how to make an offer for land investing, as well as how to manage your offer campaign. And there are 3 parts to this article. Definitely recommend, and it's worth viewing to be able to just understand the process. And then we talk more about custom documents, as well as any customizing land agreements as well too. Now, not last but least, but we have over here one more section, just more primarily on the customization of the Investment Dominator, how to go ahead and change your themes, or how to go ahead and change specific, let's say, icons on your websites, or even update any property titles, anything of that sort, color schemes. You'll see some articles here that are mentioned regarding your buying and selling website. Now, last but not least is a more dedicated section for the integrations here. So for example, the one we talked about, the data tree integration, which is go ahead and how you can import those records into your Investment Dominator. Actum automated ACH integration, you'll see that there, and that primarily has to deal with active loans. And REI Print Mail, direct integration, again, that virtual mail house that we were just describing. So I definitely recommend after you've go ahead and made sure you've tested all the information regarding your customized section. So again, that company information, make sure that you actually do call these numbers that you have listed out and ensure that they're working properly and that they can be reached because once you're sending your mailing, they will be final. So you can't change this afterwards. But all right, so that'll go ahead and cover just some quick topics for you to go ahead and dive into right after you're done setting up your Investment Dominator. Now, some additional things I would like to show as well. We do have some users who will be attending our Maximizer that we do have coming up tomorrow. Now, really regarding the maximizer, you just want to kind of keep in mind if we go ahead here. So you're going to be given a specific link for your My Land Profit Generator, which you'll see here. And if you click on Programs, what you're going to see is on your dashboard, as you'll see here, you will have this Land Profit Maximizer. And it'll go ahead and list out the dates, so February 8th to February 10th. Now, if we click on this, and let's see if it asks me to log in. Okay, so if we click on this, what you're going to see is the exact setup for the orientation for how you'll be joining the rooms. So for example, tomorrow, you'll see the time zones here. You can go ahead and join this room in the morning. And just keep in mind that we have all of our days listed out here. So day 2 for the event, you'll join this separate room. And last but not least, for day 3, there is another room right here too. So this is primarily how you'll be navigating throughout the maximizer, and really do hope you enjoy that coming up. So with that being said, let's go back more into the Investment Dominator. I'm going to close out some of these tabs that we have here, and I will direct you now. So let's find more resources on how you can communicate. Let's say if you need some help troubleshooting, or if you just want somebody to talk to regarding setting up your Investment Dominator. Let's say you have some questions regarding your setting up your domain. You can come over here to the help section and then click onto dashboard. And there are a couple things for you here. So number one is our weekly live Q&A training calls. So for example, you can go ahead, and you already did sign up for our Monday session, so thanks for joining. And our Thursday session that we have here, that's at Thursday at 11 Pacific Standard Time in the morning. You'll go ahead and see that you can sign up for that session there. And this button down here will go ahead and present you with our past replays for the live sessions that we've had. Now, this is going to open up, and it's going to be on a date-by-date basis. But one thing you do want to keep in mind, let's say if we click on the first item here, this is going to be a Thursday call. And this is primarily going to have just questions answered on this call, followed by the timestamps with the appropriate video. So what you would do is you can go ahead and track. So let's say you want to go to exactly 9 minutes and 30 seconds when we start talking about custom neutral letters with logos. And you'll click on this video here, and you'll begin that and just go straight to that timestamp of 9 minutes and 30 seconds. And we'll begin discussing that topic. So for example, if we come back and let's say we want to review a past Monday call, we can actually come to this date here, 124, which was a Monday call, and we'll see primarily the big topics that we're talking about, the big 3: signature profile section, company info, followed by domains, and any other questions that we do answer live on the stream. And that'll be in the same format. Go ahead and pick the appropriate timestamp and come right back to that video. All right. Now going back to more resources here, besides that, you'll see the user guide again. You can search directly for a keyword here. Let's say if you're having trouble with domains, or if you just want to figure out some more company information, or even get your signature down to figure out the dimensions, you can just type in all those keywords right there to be able to search our user guide. What I will bring up is that if you just click the button, it will open up like you see here. Go to Browse User Guide, and you're actually going to be presented with this as a main dashboard. Now, if you didn't know what keywords to type in, you could actually just click on the general icon here, or housing if you want house articles, or land if you want land articles, as well as selling. So also we have some additional fields here, such as customization within the Investment Dominator, any type of data, let's say, again, those live training calls are also here too. So really just understanding that you have these resources available will be a great help throughout your journey. Next, we do have some spaces where you can leave some feedback. So the first one is suggest a feature. Now, the suggest a feature, we definitely recommend for those users who, let's say, notice that there's an article that needs to be kind of updated or explained a little bit more. You can go ahead into the suggest a feature and be able to go ahead and communicate that to us. And we really do appreciate the different perspectives that everybody's coming from, and we always embrace it. So you would go ahead and list out your feature right there and select how important it would be to you, and then you can go ahead and suggest it. Now, next regarding that is the create a new support ticket. Now, if you have any technical issues with your Investment Dominator and you're starting to feel a little bit frustrated with it, just please keep in mind that you can always contact us regarding any technical issues with your Investment Dominator. And you'll click here, you can write, like, let's say you're having some issues setting up your domain, so you can say, having issues with my domain, let's say, and then you list out, your buying side domain, and then your selling side domain. And then, you can tell us any other additional information, but you could just say, can you take a look? Something like that. So you can go ahead and list that there. And once you're done, it will help to go ahead and actually list the direct link. So let's say if you're having a technical issue with your Investment Dominator, it may help to actually just grab this link that you're using where you discovered the issue and paste that right there. For this domain issue, you wouldn't really have to do that, but for other ones, you might. And now next you would leave down the platform that you use. So let's say we're using a computer Mac, but you can also see tablet, iOS tablet as well, Android phone or iPhone. And we'll go ahead and select computer PC and the browser that you're choosing. So this also goes into troubleshooting. And I'll select Chrome because that's what I'm on right now. And last but not least, we do have the priority. So critical, important, or normal. And just keep in mind of the response windows that you'll see here regarding each of these. So if you also wanted to attach images or you wanted to go ahead and upload a document like a CSV file, for instance, if you're having some issues importing your CSV file, definitely recommend you go ahead and send that to us so we can directly troubleshoot it and help you as best we can. And once you're done, then you'll see that you can actually click that button to go ahead and create that new ticket. Now, you'll notice that under ticket history, this will be where your ticket goes after you go ahead and submit that. And it's basically going to tell you a couple things. Number one, the status of your ticket, as well as, the type and the response, if any, was made on there. So just keep that in mind, especially if you're going ahead and sending in a ticket. But at any time, if your ticket is closed and you still feel like you want to go ahead and communicate about it, you can go ahead and reply directly from a closed ticket, and it'll prompt that back into the open status. But all right, so that'll go ahead and cover all of the ways to really reach out for support, and as well as these calls. And I think one thing that we can go over really quickly is just really showing you why you want to have your information set up and correct. So you will notice, hopefully I do have a prospect record here. All right, if not, I will change this to prospect. Now, the reason why we want to have this company information field all set out and finished is because when we're generating our letters, and we want to keep this in mind, this is going to take from our company information. So if we come over here and we're generating our documents, we're going to see our prospect neutral letter. We can generate documents this way. This is one way to do it, just clicking on that and going to generate documents. But also you can go ahead here to campaigns and you'll see our prospect neutral letters here. Now these are going to be printed out and we'll see here, download the letter PDF. And you're going to go ahead and see the prospects information there as well as all of your information here. So for example, you don't want to have something like this popping up on your letters. You want to have an actual buying site filled out for this, as well as your phone numbers. Again, making sure that that's correct. You'll also see here that my signature does pop up. So make sure that, your signature isn't too big or anything like that, as well as your name, and then your company name you want to make sure that you have filled out, as well as your company notes. This will go ahead and print as such. So please keep this in mind. And again, you don't want to waste any money on your mailings by not having your data set and checked. But with that being said, that'll go ahead and end our call for today. So I would like to end on a quote. And the quote that we have here is from St. Jerome. And the quote goes, "Good, better, best. Never let it rest till your good is better and your better is best. Now, really, when you're keeping this quote in mind from St. Jerome, you want to think about really your journey with the Investment Dominator. And at first, you'll really be starting to understand the Investment Dominator, and you want to think of yourself as a sponge, soaking up as much information as you can. Now, don't really worry too much about your performance because you need to go ahead and get your bearings together. But once you do, and once you start to get good, then you'll start to get better, and then you'll start to get even better than that. And really understand that the Investment Dominator is a long-term game, but also the possibilities are really in your hand. We're here to help you all along the way, and we will continue to be rooting for your success as really you continue your journey throughout. So with that being said, I would like to end the call for today, and we're going to go ahead and catch you next time. If you're joining our Maximizer tomorrow, we'll see you there. But if not, we'll see you on our Thursday call. But all right, everybody, have a great rest of your day, and please reach out if you need any help at all. Thank you.